Both of them together. We're going to do it together because they're
Hi.
in train. Come sit. I haven't started. I just got I just got them up live. So there you go. Come sit down. So I think the best thing to do when because there's so many of us. So if you sit there, is your sister coming or is it just you?
Yeah.
I think the best thing to do is to turn the camera and go, hi, this is who it is, so they know who's doing the interview. So the way to turn the camera is to double tap, because you know that. So this is Facebook and this is Periscope.
Oh, okay, double tap.
So you just double tap like that.
Yeah.
And wait, flick that up and go, hi, it's us. Not me, I'm moving out. Okay, I'll see you guys. It's been really nice live.
Right, we're here now.
I'm finished. I'm done. And over and out. Where's your naughty sister? Now, what happens if you do that with? I don't know how to work YouTube. Okay, YouTube your stuff, so I can't do that for you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, hurry up! Jeez, Louise.
Sorry, Mum.
Sorry, Mum.
Sorry.
Sit down here.
I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
you're
so
on
sorry.
your own. And we've got a very lovely person who's having you.
Oh, how come it's on us?
Thank you.
Because we were introducing ourselves. Oh, it was us.
Put your head so they can see them.
Hi.
There you go.
Let's go to Walmart.
I'm sweaty.
So now you turn it back the other way because it's about her. All right, are we good?
Yes.
And then you fix the camera so that they're right like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Off we go.
Alrighty. Oh yeah. We'll start with your name, please.
I'm Jamie McKinney.
Where are you from, Jamie?
We're from here in Charlotte.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And do you have kids? How many kids do you
I
have?
have 2 sons. I have a 9-year-old Zachary. He is injured. And I have an 8-year-old Daniel who is unvaxxed and just healthy as he can be.
Amazing. Cool. And did you, before, when you had children, when you were pregnant, would you have called yourself pro-vax or anti-vax, or what was your stance if you had one at all?
Interestingly enough, I have my own vaccine injury that
Okay.
I had received about 9 years before I got pregnant. And from a flu shot, a pneumonia shot, and a DTaP that I was given in the emergency room. I was there for pneumonia with 104.5 degree fever and vaccinated and just almost didn't make it from that.
How old were you?
I was 22. Didn't realize exactly what was going on. It was the same, the doctors, oh, this is so rare. We're so sorry this happened.
It's normal.
Of course.
This happens.
But I continued on, and I had started looking into it when I was thinking about becoming pregnant and getting married, and knew that I didn't want to vaccinate my children.
Yeah.
Did not know enough to know that if I was vaccinated while pregnant, that was going to cause issues. And so I was, talked into getting another flu shot.
While pregnant?
Yes, while pregnant, and getting a DTaP.
What did the doctor say? Did they say anything like, to protect your child? Like,
Yes.
what did they say to you?
She said, based on your health history, how sick you've been, you've had pneumonia, when you get the flu, you're so sick, you end up in the hospital. It's not just for you, it's for your baby. Because if you end up in the hospital, we don't know, all the things that can happen to your child. And so, of course, I knew I didn't want him to be vaccinated, but I thought, well, if I can protect him while I'm pregnant, then that's what I'm going to do.
Even though you knew that you already had been damaged by the flu shot 9 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, you still went on to vaccinate yourself while pregnant.
I didn't know then what I know now. Looking back now, I can see that it was a lifetime of injuries for me. But I had the shots that day. Interestingly enough, I had a sinus infection that day and was also running a fever and received.
Were you on antibiotics?
I was on antibiotics.
And you got the shots?
Yes, got the shots.
And they didn't advise, did they discuss that at all? Or?
No, she just said, you have sinus infections all the time. This is pretty normal. We do antibiotics. It's not like you have the flu or anything right now. And so she felt pretty confident in giving it to me. And she's my doctor. She's somebody that I've known a very long time and has helped me through a lot of different health issues.
Yeah,
and
so of course you trust.
Yes, just assume, she is almost like a friend and, very happy for us to be pregnant and very, seems very interested, in your child being healthy as well and protecting your child.
That's the thing these days, like, not all doctors are bad and people can be sincere, but they can also be sincerely wrong at the same time.
Absolutely. She's still a great doctor.
Yeah.
And a wonderful person. She's a Christian. She actually goes to our church.
Do you still see her?
I do still see her.
Yeah. And do you talk about what happened?
We do, and she is not a doctor who pushes vaccines.
Okay.
She has, gone along with us because we went the pediatrician route, and we ended up back with my doctor because she had seen what happened with us, and so she doesn't push it
Well,
at all.
really
and
good.
she's very eager to learn as well.
That's amazing. Good on her. Yeah,
Yes.
that's really good. Do you find that sometimes you are bringing in her information that she
Absolutely.
hasn't found yet? Yeah,
Yes,
some of
and-
the time, like a lot of the times, parents actually know way more about vaccines than the actual doctors themselves.
Yes, and you know, she's one of the doctors that has actually admitted that to my face. Like,
Wow,
you know, this
good
is
on
something
her. That's
like,
amazing. That's like kudos to her. I reckon.
yes, and she says what's the truth. Like, I'm vested in my health. I'm vested in my children's health. You know, this is our lives.
Yeah, exactly.
When you see a pediatrician, you see them maybe for 5 minutes every 6 to 8 weeks, and they basically don't even know your name. They look at your folder. So you have to be the proponent for your own health and for your children. You have to be the one to go out and find the information and figure out what you want to do for your family.
Yeah, that's so true. So can you tell us a bit about your son's story? And
So we had the vaccines that day. I think this was when I was 15 weeks pregnant, and due to my health issues, we had already had 2 ultrasounds, and he was a beautiful baby, developing perfectly. I have all of his records. You know, he passed the point where the neural tube was going to be a problem. You know, we were like, he was a miracle baby. And with the weekend of the vaccines, I started having some complications and ended up at the emergency room and was referred to a maternal and fetal specialist where they did more in-depth ultrasounds. And like suddenly it was very quiet. Doctors are coming into the room and they start telling me that it appears we are having a problem with the neural tube. And my husband and I were just like, you know, we have these records. Our last ultrasound, our doctors were like, yay, we've passed the point where this is going to be an issue. And I'm like, how can we come back to the point where it's going to be a problem now? So we got referred out to a different specialist, and the time between that appointment was a week. And we had people praying for us all over the world, missionary friends, and
that's so beautiful.
You know, just appealing the ultimate healer on our behalf. And so when we went back in for the follow-up appointment, it was again the quiet, the doctors, and he turned the screen around and he was like, you know, these are the pictures from the last ultrasound. Here's, you know, what we were looking at, the problem. This is today. It seems to have closed back up, and we have no explanation. And I was like, the explanation is God Almighty, because people have been praying for over a week, you know, for the health of my child and for healing. And whether or not doctors buy into that, you know, he was like, you know, good on you, good for what you believe. We have no explanation, but, you know, that's great. And he said, you know, looking down the road, we can't tell you what possible consequences could come from this. If, you know, he's going to have any kind of disabilities, any kind of delays, it's just going to have to be something that we'll see when we get there. And so we didn't have any problems throughout our pregnancy. I did end up in an emergency C-section with him. Cord wrapped around several times.
Sounds like my story.
Oh my goodness, it was very traumatic. But he did not receive the Hep B, but right at birth. I did not know that the vitamin K is what it is. I just thought, hey, this is a vitamin that our babies need.
Well, they try and tell you, oh, it's all natural, it's just a vitamin, and then you look into the ingredients and you realize it's far from that. So
absolutely. And you know, also I did not know the things I know about circumcision at that point, which is a huge regret, but that is something that my husband and I had agreed to do. And they were like, you know, if you were going to do this, you definitely have to have the vitamin K shot. All these complications can happen. So we did the vitamin K shot, we did the circumcision, and he was a great baby. He had eye contact, he was very social, he ate like a pig, he gained weight, and was really meeting his milestones, his developmental milestones. When he was about 6 months, he started stimming. And I knew it was stimming because my background is actually working with kids with autism. I used to be an ABA therapist.
Wow.
So I kind of knew, you know, and I was on alert anyway from what had happened. And he started, it was this little motion. And our families thought it was so cute when he would do it. And they would be like, oh, look, Zachary's revving his motorcycle. And in my mind, I'm like, he's 6 months old. He doesn't know what a motorcycle is.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have the slightest idea of what you're talking about. And so I was concerned from that point on. He did still continue to meet milestones, but we struggled some with speech. And when his little brother was born, Zachary was about 15 months old, I could tell some differences at that point. Our house had basically been set up at that point like an ABA therapist, and I was doing a lot of work with him and began talking with our pediatrician about my concerns. Like, you know, I need a referral to developmental and behavioral pediatrician to address some of these issues. Oh, he's fine, he's fine. And we didn't actually get that referral until he was 4.5.
Wow.
And by then, I knew. I had been OT, PT, speech therapy. I was working with him.
So sorry, how many vaccines did he get? Sorry.
He only got the vitamin K.
Oh, he just got the vitamin K.
That's it. He
never
got anything.
So that was it. Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sorry, I'm like, which vaccines did he get?
No, I'm sorry.
So he literally just got the vitamin K, which they say isn't a vaccine.
Right.
Yeah.
And what he had while I was pregnant with him.
Oh, exactly.
Yes.
Right. Wow.
So no more vaccines for him. You know, we got fired from our pediatrician's office that we had been with for 4.5 years. It all of a sudden just became an issue. And they wanted me to sign the form, and I wouldn't sign it. And they told us that they wouldn't let me leave with my child until I signed the form. And I was like, no, we're leaving right now. And the nurse stood in front of the door and said, we're going to have to call the police if you don't sign the form. You either have to give him shots today and start catching him up, or you're going to have to sign the form. And I said, absolutely not. This form is in no way binding. I do not agree that I'm harming my child or neglecting him. And I said, if you want me to call the police, I'll call them right now. I was like, you know, I can dial 911 just as fast as you. And I said, you're falsely holding me here. You're basically kidnapping me and my child.
Good
and so they did let us out and still tried to follow me out the door of the practice, though. We need you to sign this. We need it for his records. And, you know, we got a call several days later from up in the chain of the doctor's offices that we were no longer, you know, patients there, and we would need to find another pediatrician. And that was fine with me at that point.
So did you find another pediatrician?
We did not go with another pediatrician because by then, you know, we're like 4 years into it. I knew.
Yeah.
So we went back with just a family doctor, and who has never pushed that on us. So yeah, they're completely unvaccinated.
Wow. So when it came to have your second child, obviously knowing what you know and seeing what you've seen with your first child, what was the difference in like your perspective and your choices that you made, and getting any more jabs while pregnant?
No. I knew at that point, and then the doctor that I had didn't even offer him based on what had happened in my last pregnancy. When we got to that point early on, it was, you know, flu season, otherwise known as flu shot season. They offered that to me, and when my OB looked back in my file, he saw what had happened the last pregnancy, and he was like, yeah, I don't really feel comfortable with giving you the flu shot again, so we're just going to skip it. So with my second, Daniel, no, he didn't have any shots while I was pregnant with him, and I did have a C-section with him.
Yeah. So what have you noticed between your two sons? I mean, we obviously know you love them all the same, but in health, like from a health perspective, what is the difference between your eldest son, who was vaccinated in utero and then had the vitamin K, compared to your younger son, who you had nothing in pregnancy and obviously is completely unvaccinated?
They're just completely different. Not just personalities, but their health is different. You know, Zachary not only has autism, he has sensory processing disorder. He has multiple diagnosed learning disabilities. He has 9 different diagnoses. But his health also, from the beginning, he was just sicker than Daniel ever has been. Lots of trips to the doctor, and I still didn't know at that point, so he had lots of antibiotics when he was young. And he has been in the hospital for pneumonia. Just generally sicker. Now that we know what we know, and we've changed, you know, eating habits, and just do a lot of homeopathy, essential oils.
Amazing.
We've never medicated him for the autism against the doctor's wishes.
That is really brave, I think, because like you're in a vulnerable position already when you want to do anything for your child. You just want the best for them. So to go against medical advice and do your own thing is really brave.
And follow your intuition, your gut instinct.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know, I just knew based on me and what I had read, you know, by the time we got that diagnosis, there was no way we were going to go any further with him and push medicine. And so that was when we actually had his genetics tested. And his developmental behaviorist pushed for that. And by doing that, they were able to isolate what medications would work with his blood type. And they actually found that nothing they had on the market right now would even work for him.
Wow.
And so it's never been an issue with us again. We've just never pushed it again.
That's amazing. And so how did you find, so the treatments that you're doing today, which obviously they call alternative treatments, how did you get into that kind of world? And did you just do your own research and educate yourself, or did you find somebody, say a good homeopath or a naturopath, that could kind of guide you in the right direction?
How'd you find your support network?
Yeah.
A lot of it was just on my own at the beginning, just it's just so overwhelming when you start. I mean, the phrase in this community, you know, is falling down the hole. Yes, it's like a bottomless hole, and there's like all these other little
and you never stop researching. You're like constantly
go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yes,
it's a never-ending learning process.
I mean, I really did it for a long time on my own at first until I started, you know, really with social media. I started meeting more people that were locally, and we started doing chiropractic, and that's when we were really introduced, you know, to more essential oils, working on the gut connection, and so that's where we are today. And he's great now. I mean, we definitely have issues, just like anybody in that situation would, but he has defied everything that the doctors ever said. He'll never be able to read. He'll never be able to remember math, and he's mainstreamed in 3rd grade right now. He does have student support, and we have some behavioral issues at home, mainly when he gets home, because he loves school and he gives them 1,000,000% of himself. So at the end of the day, he's pretty done.
Which is understandable.
But he's my teacher. He's a huge support. You know, he's our inspiration, and do a lot of things with PAVE here in Charlotte to help educate other parents. And I tell my husband often that at the beginning it was very isolating, and I did feel alone, like I was the only one doing this.
You soon realize there are so many
stories
like yours.
You're not alone.
But you know, having the base that I have, it was like a trailblazing thing, and I believe that God directs every step that we have in life. My whole background dealing with kids with autism to the point I am today, and you know, I have people every day messaging me now, like, I have this going on with my child, like, what do you think about this delayed schedule? And so I just believe that God puts us right where we need to be. And it was lonely at first, but now I have a huge community around me, and it's good. You know,
are you quite outspoken on social media?
I'm very outspoken.
What about
we need to link up.
Do you have like a lot of family support too, or?
We do. My side of the family, a little bit more. Just my husband's father is a retired doctor from the Army, and so just very set, you know, in that. But in the past year or so, he's become much more open to have conversations about it. And you know, recently we talked about even his medical training, and it was, you know, we didn't actually learn anything about vaccines. You know, we just talked about they help people. This is why we don't have these epidemics anymore. If we don't do
same
it,
old two sentences.
It is. But to hear him actually admit that and say, you know,
Amazing.
that's not something that I actually learned, and he's open to receiving information that I give him, is huge.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Great.
That's so cool.
That's awesome. Alrighty.
Do you have any questions? Anything else that you wanted to say to maybe help people that are in your position who are just starting out, like trying to go down the rabbit hole
feeling
and feeling
isolated like you once did?
Because it is like, I get a lot of questions like, I don't know where to start, there's too much information, it can be conflicting and you don't know like where to turn to. So is there any like trusted resources or like, I don't know what they call them over here, but kind of groups in your community where people can go to for support and information?
Right. Here in Charlotte, we have PAVE. It's acronym for Parents Advocating for Vaccine Education.
Cool.
We have a website that you can go to.
Amazing. What's the website, just for people who don't know?
It's www.pave.org.
Cool.
And
it's pretty straightforward, Steve.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I don't know if it's .com or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, it's different. No, but she lists
no domestics online.
I know. She has all the different information about vaccines and even the exemptions that are here in North Carolina. And so it's a great way to get started. Yes, multiple groups. You can just on Facebook do a search for North Carolina and vaccine rights, and you'll get all kinds of parent groups that we're involved in.
Oh, that's really awesome to know that there are support systems out there, because it does feel lonely until you actually reach out, and then you're like, oh, this is my tribe.
And you're like, you find one person, you're like, cling on to them, latch on for life.
When you meet somebody, I'm like standoffish.
Yeah.
And then you're like, conversation, and like when they start talking about vaccines, I'm like, yeah.
Like, did we just become best friends?
Yeah. We did immediately.
Yes, I know,
but you're not alone. And I would just say, you know, if you do feel isolated, you just do your research. Lots of books. Dr. Suzanne Humphreys, she is a great resource. I would start with her books and go from there.
Arm yourself with information, people.
Absolutely.
Cool. And education.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Have you signed the bus?
We have not signed the bus.
Ooh, yay! Take a photo.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you so much
Thank
for that.
you for sharing your story.
Inspiring for everybody out there, including myself, who, like mums that don't vaccinate. I think your story is so inspiring, because I seriously think it's the mums that are going to change the whole thing. I mean, I love the dads, but the mums have that mama fierce, like
lioness.
Passion
usually
that comes
we're
out.
like on the front lines of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And we're fighting, like we're here, we're fighting for our kids.
yes, my husband is a blessing. He supports
Yes.
all of
We love our
this, and he's got
husbands.
my back. And
But yeah, I find most of the times it's the mums that are like hard out
Absolutely.
doing all the research.
yeah, we're the mama bears.
Mama bears, yes. Alrighty.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Good job, Australia.
Yay!
They did great.
Oh,
They did
okay,
so good.
That was good. What did he say? Yes or no? Australia working really hard.
We passed our
Be
first time.
brave, Australian government.
brave,
Be
people.
brave. Okay, guys, we'll come off. Well done. So
Awesome.
proud of you. Well, I'm going to go home now. Just kidding.
I was like, I'm sad. I've got this covered.
Hey guys, wait. This isn't turned off, is it?
Oh.
Where's it end? I can't read it.
End.